Three options: the Mark 6 with the gantry, the Mark 6 on its own, or the gantry on its own. They're kind of catering for everyone. Let's get started. Hi everyone and welcome to One Six Figure Focus, and in this video we're going to take a look at the newly announced Hot Toys 1/6 scale Mark 6 2.0 with gantry from Avengers 2012. Now there are three different versions of this. We're going to take a look at the prices on all three SKUs. So we've got the Iron Man Mark 6 2.0 with Suit-Up Gantry, that's coming in at $655. The Iron Man Mark 6 on its own, which is coming in $365, or the Suit-Up Gantry on its own for $335. These are all pre-order products due to be released sometime between January and June of 2024. So you have a year to 18 months to get the pennies together and all that kind of stuff. So when it was first shared with me yesterday, I did not think the gantry on its own was an option, and that matters to me because I already have a die-cast Mark 6, and to be honest, the figure here is not that much of a difference. There are other accessories, and like there's a head sculpt depending on what version you get and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, look, we all saw this coming. They basically did a straight reissue of the Mark 1 War Machine from Iron Man 2, and then the Mark 5 from Iron Man 2 also, and then they went and in the same year did another Mark 5 with like a diorama base, and then they've done a Whiplash as well from Iron Man 2. So I think a lot of people were anticipating, myself included, I've mentioned it in multiple different streams and different videos, that the Mark 6 reissue 2.0, whatever you want to call it, was imminent. I'm really, really happy for the people that actually were looking for this and, you know, not have an opportunity to pick it up. Doesn't make a difference to me. I'm not parting with mine because I love it. So we're going to take a look at this because I am hyped about this, because the Mark 6 is my favorite armor. There's a few things are going to happen here, right? Number one, a lot of people are going to be really happy. Number two, I'm not selling mine. Number three, it's just a case, do I go and get the gantry? Or do I go and get another Mark 6 with the gantry? Because like I said, I really, really like the Mark 6. Or do I go, you know what? I'm happy with Mark 6 on its own. I don't actually need the gantry because I'm not sure where to display it. It's not going to fit inside a D12. I refuse to put things on top of the D12. So it's basically a shelf there or some floating shelves, which could work. I'm just not sure yet. Anyway, let's take a look at this. So this is, I'm just going to go through the photos of the Mark 6 with the gantry because that's all we really need to see. I'm going to flick through. First of all, I like to start off with everything that you get for this $655. It is expensive. Like, to put into context, if I buy something from the Sideshow, I have one more order left with Sideshow. I'm more or less done with them because of the customs, and that's not their fault. They're doing things legit, but I need to kind of cut corners and stuff like that, so I avoid paying customs. But if I was standard 6 scale figure, $50 to ship to Ireland. So this here is not a standard 6 scale figure, it's a 6 scale plus, not even a base. This is a diorama, a light up USB powered diorama gantry. This thing looks great. So what's that going to cost? If a standard 6 scale costs $50, this could cost $80 to ship. I'd say at least $80 to ship, and that doesn't take customs into account. Anyway, what do you get for $655? Bearing in mind, that's not including sales tax, shipping, customs, whatever. What do you get for $655? You get a diorama. This is not a base. This is the diorama gantry. It is a light up USB powered gantry from the Avengers 2012 movie. This gantry was on the top of the Stark Tower. At the start, you can see him landing on the top of the Stark Tower and just casually walking while all these different arms simultaneously take off these pieces. Really, really cool. Let's face it, Iron Man, he's renowned for his suit ups, and this is like I suppose the opposite of suit up, a suit down, whatever you want to call it, suit off. Collectible set exclusive. You've all these swap out pieces. Now, I've heard speculation that people are worried about these swap out pieces because we've seen what happened with the Mark 5 suit up, but the Mark 5 suit up, like I've heard, like I don't have it in hand, so I don't know, but a lot of YouTubers are saying they're having difficulty with it. It's very, very frustrating. There's pieces breaking and stuff. Like, it looks great, but I've heard a lot of people complain about that. However, those pieces, my understanding is they're clamping onto a suit. Whereas this thing here, these I would say are just pegging, and I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Maybe I'm wrong, but they're not magnetic, but I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue because Like I have the Mark 6 and I have the Mark 1 War Machine, and they both come with swap out battle damage parts. Just a case of pegging out the clean versions and then pegging in the battle damage parts. Can it be frustrating? Yeah. Do you have to be careful? Absolutely. Could you break things if you rush and you're not careful? You could. But perfect example, a better example would be on the Mark 6 on its wrists. There are 4 separate panels on each arm. So that's like 8 clip-in or peg-in parts. They're kind of frustrating. You got to be careful with those ones. They basically swap between the clean, non-armorized or non-weaponized versions, and then you swap out those 4 panels and clip in the other 4, and you've got little kind of rockets and guns and stuff like that on him to make him kind of fully weaponized. So that's the way I think. I don't think it'll be an issue, but I think you're going to have to be careful with him. But look, we'll have to wait and see. The head sculpt with separate rolling eyes function and a trademark smirk. Battle damage parts, chest and faceplate. This is the exact same. Like to be honest, they're calling this a 2.0. The only thing that really makes it a 2.0 is the head sculpt, because this is not nanotech. This is back in the day where it's a guy in a suit of armor. So the faceplate just pops up. That's how it was done on screen. I think they're getting away with this here with the head sculpt and the rolling eyeballs and stuff like that, because as he's walking off the gantry, maybe I can't remember there being a scene where he's wearing the Mark 6 suit and he has nothing on his head. Even the bit where he's fighting Thor and he kind of says, doth your mother not know you stole her drapes or whatever? He's kind of doing the Shakespearean kind of accent or whatever. He still had the helmet on, it was just a faceplate up. And the Mark 6 now that I have behind me, that's screen accurate. Whereas this one here, I can't remember him just wearing the Mark 6 suit with nothing on, because he didn't have nanotech. Like he did in Civil War, that's fine. But anyway, it does come with battle damage, swap out, faceplate and chest plate, but that battle damage is actually from Iron Man 2 and not Avengers 2012. That was a complaint, kind of a nitpick from people when it first came out. I don't really care, because I really like the battle damage on the face with that kind of almost a scar look on the left eye, and I also like the battle damage on the chest plate anyway. And those swap out parts on the bottom there's like 10 parts there. 2 of them are for the lasers for each wrist, and then there's like 4 for each gauntlet or each wrist. They're the ones I've just described earlier on, to toggle between the clean, non-weaponized version and then the kind of weaponized versions where you've got all the missile pods and stuff like that opened up. Swap out hands, lasers. Again, that lasers from Iron Man 2. He doesn't use those in Avengers. So the difference between the 2.0 Mark 6 and the version that I have really is the head sculpt. And the head sculpt's kind of divisive. I actually think it's quite good. We'll get to that. Let's flick through some of these images. This is wow. This is hyped. Like, I don't care about reissues. I don't care about 2.0s. I collect because I love the figures. Could I have sold the Mark 6 behind me and got at least anywhere between $600 to $1,000? Yeah, probably. Could I sell it today for that? No. Do I care? Absolutely not, because I love it. It's mine. I don't want to give it to anyone. This looks super. My options are going to be get the gantry on its own and call it a day, or go full hog and get the new 2.0 Mark 6 with the head sculpt and the swap out parts. I do like the swap out parts, those extra parts, and the gantry, and then keep the Mark 6 for posing with the, Loki, or posing with the Mark 1 or whatever. I just don't know yet, because this looks super. I'm hyped for this. I'm happy for the people who, this looks so good. Like, this is a centerpiece. Already measured up, just in case you're wondering. No, it will not fit in the detail. But I was surprised. It's like, this looks huge, but I was just taking the measurements on it and took the measurements of the detail cubes, and it's just barely like 1 or 2 centimeters too big. I think it's the height gets it or something like that. But yeah, surprisingly. But look, I'm not going to put it on top of the details because I just don't like that look. If you do that, 100%, it's your collection, do what you want. I personally don't like that look, and I don't want to put any extra weight in the details anyway. But there's a windowsill here. Maybe I'll make my peace with that, or although I don't like that idea either. Floating shelves, they're an option, or there's a kind of a comic book graphic novel, use your words, shelf here that I could. The Batpod's on it at the moment, so that begs the question, where's the Batpod gonna go? And I'm reluctant to move the Batpod, so I haven't worked out where this is going. And if I do, then I'll probably pull the trigger on some version, either the gantry on its own, or this looks so good, or the full package. I love the way the gantry itself is USB powered and you can keep it lit up. That's a consideration as well. You gotta keep this, you have to have this lit up. Interesting enough, only the gantry is USB powered. The Iron Man, I believe, is not, and you still have the button cell batteries to deal with or contend with, which is unfortunate. I love this. I love this. Like, just that look where he's just landed and he's walking and the different arms are simultaneously stripping the suit off him. I think that's very cool, especially like it's a good way to utilize the head sculpt there, because I still maintain that in the Avengers you never see him with the full suit of Mark 6 armor and the head sculpt completely exposed. You do see him with the faceplate up. I think the only time maybe you see it is like this, when all the parts are simultaneously taking the armor off, which means that he's still not, you know, Mark 6 fully armorized from the shoulders down. There's sections taken off, but that's how I would choose to utilize this head sculpt if I was to get this version. I love that. Notice that there doesn't seem to be any waist grabber or flight stand there. I think there's a bit of Photoshop trickery going on here. I think they probably posed that with a flight stand and photoshopped it out, to be honest. I would be calling BS that those little arms are enough to support him, because if you look at this one here on his right thigh, this one is about to clamp him, because it's about to clamp him to start stripping the stuff off him. Yeah, so I think there's a bit of Photoshop going on there. The head sculpt in these two images I think looks good. Great inclusion for the separate rolling eyeballs function. They had to make it 2.0 somehow. What I think is, okay, I do not think this is a bad head sculpt, but I don't think it's a perfect 10 out of 10 or whatever like that. It's not a 10, it's not a 9. To me, this lies, I think a fair judgment on this lies somewhere between 7 and 8. When I look at it, I do see Robert Downey Jr., no question. When I looked at the JC Hong head on a stick pic, gotta be very careful how I phrase that, but it looks like Robert Downey Jr. any day of the week. I think what's happening here is two things. I think they've aged him up a bit. There's a lot of wrinkles going on the forehead, there's a lot of wrinkles going on in his eyes and under his eyes. I think they've aged him up a lot. Now, he wasn't a young man during Avengers, he wasn't in his 20s, but he didn't look that wrinkly. What may have happened is the lighting could be harsher here to kind of maybe unveil more of the detail here. Maybe those lines are a little bit more subtle. What I do think they're missing the mark on, because I'm looking at this, I'm like, no, I know it's Robert Downey Jr., but there's something about it that's a little off. Like, I'm not questioning if it looks like Tony Stark or Robert Downey Jr. I'm just questioning, why is it I'm only going to rate it in between a 7 and 8? Why am I rating this a 9 or higher or whatever? I think it's the distance between the eyebrows to the hairline and above. I think it's like it's a little bit too elongated. Anyway, there are my thoughts on that, and maybe it's a bit too full in the cheeks as well, possibly. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I think maybe that could be possibly why it's causing a bit of a controversy. But like, this doesn't look great. It's funny, over here it may be a bit more natural color, and here he looks a bit too tanned or something. It looks better from the side, but then his skin is very different looking to here, but that's probably just lighting. Again, I just can't remember him wearing the Mark 6 armor and having his heads fully exposed. Like, I know he did that in Civil War, but then he had nanotech for the helmet and eventually gets the full nanotech. This is a terrible pose. I think this is really awkward looking. I know that my own Mark 6 even, I have to be conscious on how I pose it, because it can be a bit awkward if posed incorrectly. You can probably say that about every Iron Man and any different figure, but this is a bad pose. I don't like this at all. I think they've taken a great figure and made it look awkward. I said this on a live stream earlier. He looks so happy. I don't mind a smirk, but whatever way this is, this says to me, this reminds me of like when kids at birthday parties get like a superhero costume muscle suit, and then after 5 minutes they get too warm, so they take the mask off and they run around with the rest of it on. He looks like he's wearing like it's like a kid's Halloween costume or something like that. There's something about the discrepancy. Like, the suit looks great, and I think the head sculpt looks good. It's just the two of them together. It's just, there's something about it. I think it looks funny. Love this and all these different swap out parts and stuff like that, showing like part of the armor taken off and all that. Love that. I really like the blue lights here. I like the way it's not just like a big circle. There's the blue frosty lights, and there's the warmer lights on the steps, and the fact that like they've done this before. There's a custom job of this done before. I remember admiring it on Instagram about a year ago. Was tempted as well, but it's hard to track down. I think I had the company's name, but they were all sold out. This, it looks super. It looks super. Oh, that's another thing. Like I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, why isn't it like magnetic and sticking to the base?" And I do think could be a bit of Photoshop trickery going on here again. Maybe there was a stand and they photoshopped it out. I love this. It's such a simple looking pose. And again, what's good about this as well, if I was leaning towards just getting the gantry on its own, if you're sitting at home, you've got the Mark 6 diecast, the what they marketed as the sideshow exclusive Hot Toys Mark 6 with the base and the bonus part, the Mark 6 helmet that it lit up blue. If you're thinking just going gantry, this is perfect because the head sculpt is not here. This is just a normal Mark 6. There's no swap out parts here. It's very, very simple. And thing is, I fancy my chances doing a pose like that. Just make sure like the right foot is flat footed, because look behind me, I don't use stands, I don't use sticky sided tape or anything like that. But then again, in Ireland we don't have earthquakes and there's no kids in the house. If you live somewhere which is prone to earthquakes and there's kids in the house, yeah, stands are a great idea, or sticky sided tape or whatever you have to do. But I'd fancy my chances posing him like this. Just he'd have to be very well balanced, flat footed on the right foot with a bit of support on the left. But yeah, I can understand if people don't want to take the risk with your $300 $400 figure. I think this looks great from this angle. Head sculpt looks fine, no question who it's supposed to be. Like the cheeky smirk. Yeah, the smirks, the expressive smirks, sometimes they do limit the posing options you have. If something is like in a really aggressive pose like Rocket Endgame, you have to pose them in a fighting pose. If something's really neutral, it can look a bit awkward if you're posing in a fighting pose or something like that. But I think this works here in this particular case. Maybe this one, I love this photo, and I love the swap out parts, and this is what pushes me towards getting another Mark 6 with the gantry, because I get the swap out parts and the sculpt, and I like the idea of that arm coming up just after taking the helmet off his head, revealing the sculpt. Love that pose. I just think that's really cool. I may actually repose. I've got my Mark 6 standing next to my Mark 1 2.0 reissue, not 2.0. I'm thinking about reposing it like this, and then reposing the Mark 1 in a more dynamic kind of a pose, because I think the two of them would look, I think they'd look a lot better like that. This is super. To be honest, they're calling it 2.0, but the only difference that I can see is the inclusion of that head sculpt. If you're getting the normal, if you forget about the gantry, they're calling this a 2.0. The only thing I can see, like the heights I believe are the same, the only thing that I can see is different is the head sculpt itself. Again, let me know if I'm wrong in the comment section down below and I'll take a look. Yeah, I see all these parts. You see, as a Mark 6 fan, this is why I pass on so much stuff that I like, that I think is cool, just to get the stuff that I love. This is why I resist the FOMO on the Aragorn. It looks amazing. The DeLorean looks amazing. Resisting FOMO. I thought it was quite difficult. And the likes of that Sam Wilson Captain America looks great. Resist the FOMO. To get the things like this. So now I have the option, if I want to get the gantry or go full hog and get the two of them, because I didn't waste the heap money to getting something else which I was only like which just because it looks cool. Yeah, even like the details on the inside of this helmet. I love this. Yeah, look, I've nothing more to say about this. I'm really, really happy. 2.0s and reissues don't bother me, they never do. I don't collect for value, I just collect because I love collecting. Absolutely love the Mark 6, it's my favorite armor. It is top 3 figures in my collection. It's a fire figure, I'll take it to my grave. So really, really happy this is out. I'm hyped for this. I'm hyped for the people that were looking for a Mark 6, and now that they're, shout out to Cam, actually, I'm sure he's delighted about this. Am I selling my Mark 6? No chance. Love it. Plus this isn't going to come out for another 12 months to 18, and I won't be selling it then either. You can clip and gift this if you want. They've also catered for people like me who have the original, because I can just get the gantry now, or like I'm still considering getting the full package, because then not only do you get the gantry, but you get the swap out parts and the head sculpt with the rolling eyes and stuff like this. if you just want the Mark 6, you can ignore the gantry. So I think they've done good. In fairness, think about what they've done so far this year. They've announced the Bane 2.0, which was the most hype I've been about a figure in a long time. They've done this, which is going to keep a lot of people happy. The Sam Wilson cap looks amazing. The DeLorean is dropped. Like, come on, what a time to be alive. What a time to be a collector. Anyway, they're my thoughts on that. If you want to support the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Let me know if you're picking this up or not. You can also follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. That's it. That's the end of the video. See you in the next one. Good luck.